All right, everyone, we're 4 minutes past the hour. I don't want to hold you any longer than our intended time, just as people begin to do the last few logins here. Let me turn my video on so that you can see me. Welcome, everyone. Thank you for setting time aside in your day. This is the first and what will hopefully be many webinars from Lift and Shift, so welcome. The idea here is to introduce you to some of the key concepts in creating and using a loyalty platform in a business-to-business context, which is the specialty for Lift and Shift. Today, we're going to cover some topics which are on the mind of every sales-based organization right now. How do I sell effectively in this marketplace? You know, I saw a tweet this week from someone who said, "Man, do I miss precedented times." These are undoubtedly unprecedented times, but I'm also getting tired of saying that. And despite the goodwill, I feel bad about telling everyone to stay safe constantly. It's a tough world that we're living in right now, but certainly proud to see everyone rallying, both on a personal and a business level. So things are going fairly well in that respect. We're going to cover 20 minutes today, the key concepts, as I mentioned. And then we'll do 5 to 10 minutes of Q&A at the end. So please use the chat function, as I mentioned, to pass along any questions that you may have on the subject matter that we're covering. And we will regroup at the end to answer as many questions as possible. As well, I'll be closing the poll shortly. If you've seen that, thank you for giving me the information. Just again, want to be able to tailor the messages to the folks who are on relative to the sector of the industries that you are in. So that helps a lot. Thank you very much. So without further ado, we will move along. Going to talk a little bit about some of the challenges that we face today in the sales environment that we work in. Generally speaking, most organizations are really good at targeting their top accounts. 20 to 30% of your accounts generally represent more than half of your sales. Those are the people that are getting regular focus and attention from your sales team. It does leave a significant portion, of course, of people below the waterline who are vulnerable to your competition. So you always want to look for strategies and ways to address those people. And a loyalty program is certainly one of the ways that you can do that. In addition, as I mentioned, in today's sort of post-COVID reality, those top accounts are undoubtedly going to see increased competitive attention as people are looking to recoup some of the sales losses that they've experienced over the last couple of months. And to add challenge to that, many of them will also be less likely to be open to in-person meetings. So you're challenged with having to work in a remote environment. So to some of those customers, their world may feel a little bit like this, being circled by lots of competitive offers, people coming to the table, everyone's looking for a little bite out of them. It can be, for our customer, a very stressful period. So again, a loyalty program is something that will help you cement that relationship, and we'll talk a little bit more about that. The question becomes, how do I ensure that I'm effectively reaching the largest portion of my customer base with the most compelling offers that I can have relative to having them buy my goods? And the answer, as far as today's conversation goes, becomes introducing a loyalty program will help you provide a remote selling option that is relationship-based, and not just relationship in the soft, fuzzy sort of sense of the term, but purchase relationship based. What are they buying from you? Where are the opportunities to sell them more products? What are their challenges, and how can we understand them? So a lot of those things come through the course of a relationship building program like a loyalty program. Let's start in the traditional world. Discounts and rebates are prevalent in just about every industry that we work in. Lift and Shift does a lot of work in the automotive industry, the home furnishings industry, hardware, industrial. We work with manufacturers and distributors. And to some extent, discounts and rebates are prevalent throughout. The question is what is the value of those versus performance-based rewards? And it really comes down to a sense of entitlement versus earned benefits. It's not uncommon for us to talk to prospective clients who say, we have a whole segment of customers who, when they sign their contract, We put them on a specific pricing schedule, and for whatever reason, they didn't live up to the volumes that they committed to, or business has changed and it's gone down, but they're still earning the rebates or discounts that we set up on that pricing schedule. A reward program is earned benefits. And tied to that is the constant level of communication that you have with your reward earners. So not just those top 20%, but everyone. And that allows you to communicate on many levels, but most importantly, performance versus target. And that's one of the key elements of a reward program. So there's none of that end of year surprise check. This is another story that we hear quite frequently. And I can imagine it would be troubling if you were a distributor or a manufacturer and you visit your customer in December and you bring them a check. It's a great moment. The customer is quite happy in that moment. But does that check in December or that dealer trip in January or February truly impact the purchases that they make in May and June? And that's where you want to have continuous conversation with them through communication, because really you can't impact what you don't measure or report. That is a basic tenet, obviously. So if you're giving them constant communication about this is where your sales are at, this is what's new and what's interesting, you're going to achieve the results you want. So let's talk a little bit about discounts. What you want to do is turn discounts into the account credits. Account credits have a very distinct advantage from a discount is in that they're applied as a percentage of a future purchase. Maybe they're going to earn $50 or $500 off a purchase of $2,000 or $5,000. They're a percentage of a future purchase instead of just taking a reduction in your gross profitability today. So you're structuring a reward program that has a long-term benefit to your operation. You can help drive business back to your products and services and maintain gross profitability in the short term. Don't give anything away today. So by switching to discounts, from discounts and rebates to a performance-based reward program, you can in fact save money and grow sales at the same time, which is sort of a win-win for you, obviously. So how do we go about doing that? Well, one of the big tools that we use is emails and email journeys that are driven by data, purchasing data, program data. So what you want to do, and in our programs you'll see, is a monthly statement going out to the customers, giving them the information about where they stand in the program. So there's personalized content in there with regard to how many points they've earned to date, how many purchases are required to attain the next reward tier. And that's this little graph here. That's a tool that we use quite frequently. Tiers based on growth, based on overall volume, could be based on purchasing frequency. You want to create that carrot, that incentive, and track progression along. So again, remember what I said was you can't impact what you don't track and report on. This, as a monthly communication to your program members, helps them understand how that they can benefit from being inside of the program. This particular example for one of our clients is based on a growth program. So they want to communicate to their customers how much they bought in the same quarter previous year so that they can, work towards beating that number and earning additional rewards as a result. We use the carrot as an incentive, earn additional bonus points for moving from tier 1 to tier 2 to tier 3, which are incremental levels of purchasing. This constant communication is what keeps away that surprise check at the end of the month. This is what keeps you top of mind. And in terms of effectiveness of communication, we get extremely high open rates on this. You see the figures here. Our average open rates vary from program to program between 45% and 75%, which is easily double to 4 times the average industry open rates for things like email blasts or if you're doing a newsletter. And the reason is quite simple. This is a good news proposition. What you're sending to people is essentially how much money do you have in the bank. It's like receiving a check, which is something we don't do very often anymore. So people look at this on a regular basis and it becomes an effective means of communication. That's the base level of having a program. But where do you go beyond that? Well, you use the data derived from the program to unlock insights about your customer. You can look for purchasing gaps and identify opportunities to change customer behavior. What is a more profitable customer versus a less profitable customer? We use a tool, a gap analysis, that's illustrated here in this example for a hardware distributor, where the hardware distributor could be selling in categories. They're selling plumbing, power tools, outdoor stuff seasonally, of course, hardware, paint, so on and so forth. And you're going to have a fair number of your customers who are represented in Group A, which are buying most of your products. And then you're going to have, on the opposite end of the spectrum, Group B customers who are buying very little of your products, and then people spattered in between. But the magic is in knowing where the holes are and then providing bonus offers to incentivize purchase in those areas. So customer Group A, this person's not buying hardware, let's provide them a bonus offer. Customer Group B, many more opportunities for sale. They might receive more bonus offers in order to get them to bring more business to you. And this applies for distributors as well as manufacturers who have multi-lines, where you may perhaps want to be moving them up in a profitability scale from an entry-level product through consumables and all kinds of other products. So what we do with that is use those insights to drive sales through the addition of bonus offers to that monthly email. So these bonus offers are included in the program statement that has that high level of open rates. And the emails are built dynamically for each individual based on the business rules. So our customer who is not buying plumbing products, as an example, perhaps customer A has not purchased sinks or toilets, toilets in the last 6 months. We're going to present them with a bonus offer here for 10 times the points on those products. Customer B perhaps does buy sinks and not toilets. They're going to see only the toilet offer. So in this way, you can really drive that incrementality, because what you're doing is creating a bonus offer that is specifically tailored to the individual. This as well increases your overall open rates, because what you're doing is providing highly relevant content to the individual readers. You send that message out there into the world. The other thing, of course, that you can do is put general offers available to all. In this particular instance, we make them a little bit smaller. They're less of a key imperative, but you could do, say, 2 times the points on early seasonal orders for fall stock up. Or you might do 5 times the points as a result of a SKU rationalization project that you're doing, right? So you know that you're trying to move everyone into a limited number of SKUs so that you can eliminate some non-strategic partners for your lineup, and this could be true as well of legacy lines for a manufacturer. And so you want to move them into the new product, and so you do 5 times the points for that. In essence, what this email is doing is what good salespeople have done for years and years. It's just doing it at scale. You're preparing yourself for a conversation with an individual customer, looking at their purchase history, and identifying the opportunities to maximize the profitability and sales through that account. All of this is driven off of the purchase data. One of the challenges for manufacturers in particular becomes, well, how do I get the data? You know, maybe I don't have a direct relationship with my end users who are making those decisions. And I know that understanding the behavior is critical to implementing this sort of a program. So you might get a little despondent, like Steve, the sales guy we've got up here in the corner. But we have a program available that works very well through 2-step distribution. It's called Distributor Data Direct. And we work in conjunction with your distributors, allowing them to provide direct sales information to a third party, lift and shift, and protect that information, protect the confidentiality of that information through an agreement with them. We will provide the necessary reporting information to the manufacturer relative to sales opportunities, but sensitive information about who the contact people are, what the individual volumes are, pricing information, all of those things that make distributors a little bit nervous are protected. And in that way, you create a partnership that adds value on behalf of the distributor with the customer. They get to provide free rewards to the customer, making them more sticky to them, and at the same time support key business initiatives for a strategic vendor of theirs. So this works quite well. We've implemented it with a number of customers. And we have some specific case studies available as well about how those things have gone. Another topic that is very current right now is e-commerce. Back in January, Justin Post, an analyst from the Bank of America, forecasted that e-commerce in the business-to-business segment would reach $1.4 trillion by next year. And this was in January, before the coronavirus outbreak and lockdowns ensued, and people started turning specifically to online avenues. But the key thing to note there is that growth suddenly gets that market outpacing the consumer marketplace by almost twice as much. So there obviously is an opportunity here. We've had a number of clients who have been focused on driving people to that channel using bonus offers to generate trial. And they've done that pre-coronavirus, but also with a lot of additional focus right now. And what you can do is you can look very simply to understand, using this program data once again, the level of online orders versus systems averages. And you can also look at individual products. What are the gateway products? What gets people trying these things? And create an offer based on that. 2 times the points on an online order of the minimum $500 or more, those sorts of things. And it really directs traffic into that way. What's worthy of note, though, for the distributors who were here in the room, is that Mr. Post, when he did this analysis, also predicted that by 2021, when there was going to be that much growth evident in the e-com marketplace, Amazon is expected to capture as much as 10% of the B2B sales. So our customer, who was surrounded by sharks at the beginning, may end up looking like this with one big whale shark, unless we address that specifically. So again, a loyalty program is a great tool to do that. One last thing, make sure we close the loop. You want to equip your sales teams to be account leaders, not just order takers. Make sure they have the data. And this can be done via an export from our system that you can upload into your CRM system. Or it can be done through a lift and shift portal that we make available to you. This is an item that's in development with us right now. We have the profile and history information available for your accounts, and you can see that today inside of the program. But we're looking through summer to then show targets as well. So this is account-specific targets like the users themselves see in the email. And by the end of the year, we're also going to show those specific bonus offers. So when a remote salesperson is calling on someone, or when a CSR answers the phone, they'll have the facility to understand where the opportunity is immediately with that customer. And this works, again, in the distributor world, but also in that manufacturer partnering with distributors through the Distributor Data Direct program. We can make this available. So what does it all mean? Well, first of all, what it doesn't mean is adding some kind of new objective for you. Very few people signed on today, I'm sure, going, I'd really like to have a loyalty program. How do I go about doing that? Some of you may have, but many of you undoubtedly have goals, corporate objectives that you set to increase sales, put focus on a specific product line, shift purchasing online. What a loyalty program is an intelligence-based, highly effective way to attain those goals. It's not about adding extra stuff on your plate. It's about making things easier for you and helping you attain your goals. So just before we move to the Q&A period, would like to leave you with 2 thoughts for the road. These are excerpts from existing case studies that, again, I'd be happy to spend some time talking to you in detail about, that speak to the effectiveness of what we've talked about today. The first is from a car care packaged good client of ours. They had a 2-pronged program where they were working with a key distributor. So this is a Distributor Data Direct program. And what they wanted to do was increase sales to existing accounts. And so they put bonuses on growth that we talked about. And through the program period, they increased sales to existing accounts by 55%. And as well, they worked in combination with the distributor sales force, wherein they gave incentives for opening new accounts. So minimum opening order of X number of dollars, and the salesperson earns a reward, and they were able to increase overall sales, therefore, by 346%. That's a combination of existing accounts and new accounts. So great numbers there. And on the flip side of this, we also have a distributor program where they put an offer out to their members, and they wanted to focus on a particular product line. They sought vendor sponsorship from the vendor in order to support the cost of doing that program. And it was based on growth of those products. So this could be part of a SKU rationalization program, for example. And you see some of the results here. Of all of the members enrolled in their overall loyalty program, 97.6% of them achieved the growth objective set out in order to earn bonus rewards, resulting in a 13% increase in that manufacturer's product sales through the promotional period. So strong results there. And we always, in our programs where the data is available, measure that against the control group. Not everyone signs up inside of your program. And so there are non-members. And non-members who did not receive these bonus offers to buy these products and increase their purchasing, in this particular case, actually declined in sales by 15%. So you can see the delta there to sort of the control group. This is an example of some of the reporting that we do. We also do ROI reporting based on gross profitability and all kinds of other stuff. Again, happy to share that with you. Today, though, as I mentioned, it's about introducing concepts and beginning the discussion. Happy to take a few questions now as we're running close to the end of our short amount of time that we've allotted. I'll just sit for a moment on silent. Use the chat functionality to send the questions through. And I'll look through what we've got so far, and I'll be back in 1 minute with some of the Q&A. Be right back. All right, great. I'm just tabulating these together. I see a few of them here. Here's a good one. This is one that we get quite often, which is sort of a pretty normal concern. How much work is required to build and operate a program like this? Do I need to add headcount? Well, the short answer to that is no, it's not a whole bunch of work. As a third-party vendor who are experts in loyalty, we're a full-service company, so we'll help you through the early stages of program design through to the operation and administration of your entire program. So part of our services include running the entire program for you. And so most of our clients find that the sort of ongoing amount of work required to maintain a program with this in conjunction with our services is between 1 and 2 hours a month. And that is really tied to the frequency of their business cycle. So we have some clients on a monthly cycle, which is tied to sort of what the billing cycle looks like. And we have some clients on a weekly cycle. But you're going to look at 1 or 2 hours a month where we're going to have a status report. And we'll go through the outstanding items. We'll talk about upcoming offers. And then quarterly and annually, we'll do larger reviews where we'll see some of these opportunities through things like gap analysis, and we'll report on the results of the programs that we've put in place over the course of the last quarter and year. And so that's a little bit of that ROI reporting that I was talking about. The question here about data and what kind of data is needed to run the program and how often. Well, I mentioned a monthly cycle. Really, that's sort of how we operate. Again, it's tied to your monthly cycle. We have most of our customers in a business-to-business environment operate on a monthly turnover. So they're supplying data on a monthly basis. We're doing it via an SFTP, a secure FTP site. It is a CSV file that is sent to us on a monthly basis. And the CSV file is pretty simple in its makeup. It's got some sort of a unique identifier, usually a customer number, a date for the product, for the purchase, I should say, what product was purchased, what quantity of items, and what the overall price was. And we'll use that information to generate the number of rewards. Rewards are often based on purchase values, 1 point for every $5 in purchases, as an example. Most ERP systems, most accounting packages can export this easily. We set up the report with you. It takes a couple hours to get it set up, and then it's a push of a button once a week or once a month to do the export. Very, very simple. And then when we work in the distributor data direct format, we will take those kinds of files from multiple distributors on your behalf and amalgamate them. And again, this becomes one of the areas where you're going to get sort of a wealth of data out of the program when you can look at the aggregated data and understand how often people are purchasing, what the repurchase numbers are like, all kinds of key metrics relative to understanding how to increase your business. Just scrolling through here. There's a question about an API. That's another technical based question. Again, with the speed at which business to business programs tend to turn, which is monthly, an API isn't critical. It can be done, but it's not critical to operations. That you would see more often in a consumer based program where someone's going into a pharmacy and they're swiping a card, and they want to be able to the next day go to the pharmacy and redeem their points for some sort of a purchase. That doesn't typically happen in the business to business world, so it's less critical there. Getting to the end of time, I do see a question here about costs. I could spend a lot of time talking about this, but I will say that a good loyalty program is a custom program. You're not going to find a good off-the-shelf alternative. So the costs are going to vary based on the scope of your program. I will say something about Lift and Shift is we're a pay-by-performance vendor, which means that the majority of your operating costs in the program are tied directly to the amount of rewards that you issue. Issue a lot of rewards, your cost is A. Issue much less rewards, your cost is B. We feel that this is important because it ties us into the success of your program and makes us invested in driving sales for you, which is really what you want. The key there, of course, though, is being that you have the flexibility to set up your reward program in any way you want. So you determine the issuance. You know, I mentioned 1 point for every $5 in sales. It could be 1 point for every $10 in sales if you're dealing with large accounts. And that brings in the next factor, which is reward attainability. As part of the planning process, what we will frequently do is sit down with you and say, what's the average customer look like? Who are we targeting? Is it a large chain purchaser, or is it an individual mom and pop? What kind of throughput are they doing, and how many rewards will they earn over the course of a year? And is that realistically going to impact the level of sales that we're looking to get? And what kind of behaviors do we want? So all of that works in your favor as we go through the design of the program to work with your available margins inside of the objectives that you want to achieve. So costs can vary substantially based on the overall scope, and that's one of the very first questions that we said about resolving with you. I see now that I've gone just a little bit past my 30 minutes of time total. I hope that you found this informative. If you do have other questions, please feel free to fire in a couple extra questions here. I see a few coming through at the very end. I'll make sure that those get forwarded on and that a response is sent to you. If you do want to hear from your Lift and Shift rep and get a little bit more in-depth information, some of these case studies, more details on some of these specific comments, please include that in your chat message as well. I'll make sure that gets forwarded out to our team and someone helps you out as soon as possible. Thanks again for joining us, and hope you have a great day. Take care.